you have a Generation 3 Ford Explorer. That's years 2002 to 2005. Could also be a Mercury Mountaineer. And you want to remove the header panel here. This is attached to your bumper, headlights, turn signals, as well as your side fenders. So if you haven't removed some of those things already, watch the previous video. Specific tools I used to remove the header panel was a ratchet gun, the Phillips head, and 8mm with a couple different size extensions just to get kind of back in there a little bit easier, and some pull tab as well as a flathead just to get into this really flat, like indented area there. And then some of the other stuff here is from when I removed the bumper as well. First things first, you do have to remove the headlight as well as the turn signals. Once you have that done, you have to remove the bumper. I'm not going to go over every step, but essentially it requires you to remove the inner fender liner, two 10mm bolts there, two 10mm bolts underneath. The liner is attached with push tabs and Phillips head screws, obviously on both sides. Now that you got the bumper off, you got the headlight off, and you have the turn signal off, there are two 8mm bolts on both sides attaching the header panel to your side fenders. They're there and there. Obviously my fender is gone on that side, but you can see where the bolts were because they rubbed away the paint, or actually they painted after it was attached, I should say. I'm gonna go ahead and remove those two bolts over there, and then we'll work on the next step. And then I'm just going to push this connector through here so we don't rip it out later. I'm going to get all these connectors kind of back behind the header panel, so when we take out the header panel, we don't rip out these connectors. What I like to do next is I like to take out this grill. You do have to take out the grill. There is a bolt attaching the header panel to the frame behind here. You're looking at the header panel as if it's on the car. If you look, there's a bolt right there. It's also 8mm, just like everything else, and that is attached behind the grill. So we do have to take out the grill. So the grill is attached with these Phillips head screw type push pins. They only unscrew when they have pressure on them. If you're unscrewing it and it's not coming out, like lifting up, what you can do is kind of stick your fingers underneath and actually squeeze it as you're unscrewing it. So let's imagine this is sitting in your car, right? And you're trying to unscrew it, but it's not coming up. See how it's not lifting up, even though I'm twisting it? It's because this is not applying enough pressure to those internal threads that are in there. So you can stick your hand kind of underneath while you're unscrewing it to squeeze on this as you twist. So let me just show you an example. You want to squeeze on it as you twist, and you can see now it comes right up, and then you can pull it out. this one, I'm spinning it and it's not doing anything. So I'm going to come underneath and I'm going to apply pressure, and now look at it. Okay, so the grill is now, all the attachments are removed from it. The only thing holding it in is gravity and some tabs that are along the bottom of the grill. So you want to grab it and try to pull up. It is made out of plastic, so you do want to be gentle with it. And you can see those tabs there. And even a small one right there. And they just sort of sit back here. All right, the next step is to remove these 3 push tabs here. You can see they're kind of flexible. Kind of annoying. Actually gonna try to get this underneath it. So I'm pulling almost on all sides. There we go. Okay, this one is actually a little more difficult because of this lip around here. I found at the junkyard it was a little easier to start it with a flathead, just to get something under there. And to help get this to go under on both sides, because what was happening is only like one side of this instead of both sides were going under. And again, kind of using the flathead on the other side until I can really get some space under there. You can see it's really kind of difficult. And then once I got a little bit of gap, can maybe get the second one under there. Like that. Sorry if my hands are in the way. Let's maybe go on the other side so you can see better. So now we're going in 2 different directions, so nearly the entire head of that is being supported. There we go, we got that out. And now, in order to remove this panel, you have to remove this here on both sides. And I want to show you at the junkyard, when I picked up this spare part, I actually cut this off because I was not able to figure out what was going on. And essentially, imagine this is all one piece. That's what it looks like. It's like a push tab on both sides. The top part holding in this panel, and then there's like that washer, and then it's pushed in to this bottom part here, which is attached to the frame of the car, and that's right here. So this is under here like that, and it's in there like that. So rather than cutting that, now that I understand how it works, I'm going to use my pry tools and actually put it in between these 2 pieces and pull up on that. Alright, let's see if I can remove this without breaking it. This whole thing kind of pulls forward. That way when I pull up on it, it's not being blocked by the top of the header panel frame. Okay. Oh, guess I got it. I just got to remove the two pieces from each other. There we go. Now to do the other side. All right, and that piece just comes right out. Okay, I do still have to remove this one. This one came out when I took out this part, but I do have to remove this one because it's still attached to the header panel, but this is still attached to the frame of the car. So I don't actually want to remove this part when I take off this header panel in this particular instance. All right, so you can see what those pieces look like when they're not cut into pieces. It's essentially like a double-sided push tab with a little middle washer. So these are the ones from the junkyard and these are the ones on my car. And what that'll allow me to do is take off the header panel, but not have to remove this thing, which is attached with another, I don't know, 6 push tabs or something. There is what, 4 right there, and I think there's even more underneath here connected to the bottom of the radiator. I'm not going to get into it right now. Yeah, there's these 3 attached to the bottom of the radiator, and then those 4 attached to the frame of the car. So it's not necessary to remove that to take off the header panel, but if you did want to take that out, it's just those 7 little plastic push tabs. With the grill, that piece of plastic, and these removed from the header panel, we can move on to the next step, and that's going to be 8mm bolts. There's going to be 5 more of those bolts. There is one right here. One right here. That one that was hidden behind the grill in that plastic. And then 2 more on this side. There. Here's those 2 same 8mm bolts. And there. So now you understand why you have to remove the bumper, because it is not possible to get it's not possible to get through that foam that's attached to the bumper and get to this nut that's backing in here. So we'll remove those 5 8mm bolts, and then the entire header panel will be very loose. Was pretty tight on the frame. and that's what gave me a little bit of resistance, actually this bottom one down here. But other than that, it slid right off. And like that, our entire header panel, as well as headlights, turn lights, and bumper are all gone. So just for the header panel, here's the hardware. Again, there's 2 bolts from when I removed the other fender, but you have the 4 screw Phillips head push tabs from the grill, 2 8mm bolts attached to each fender, 2 8mm bolts attached to each side of the header panel, to the side of the radiator, 1 right in the center, through there, under there. These 3 push tabs attached to this black grill, there, and there. And these 2 bi-directional push tabs attaching these 2 pieces to each other. Again, this one is from the junkyard. The other one I left on the car. All right, and so if you can imagine 2 sets of these 2 bolts on both sides, that is all the hardware you would need and should see if you remove only the header panel. Because I'm gonna wait a little bit, I went ahead and covered up my electrical connections. In the last video or previous video, I explained that I like to cover the connections with painter's tape first and then electrical tape. And I just realized I didn't cover this one with the electrical tape yet. But I don't like the gooey residue that the electrical tape leaves behind. And so I went ahead and cover all the connections with painter's tape first. So when I do remove all the tape to reconnect all the lights and everything, I don't have to deal with that electrical tape residue for the time, for the rest of the time I own the vehicle. Okay, I went ahead and finished putting electrical tape on all the connections and then zip tied everything up there. So this fog light is up there. Those were already zip tied. This fog light, because of the washer, the wiring is kind of connected to it, so it wouldn't fit all the way up to the top. So I just kind of attached it to the mount for the washer fluid, and then I attached the turn signal to the fender on the passenger side. One last thing that I did, since there's such easy access, is I went ahead and brushed down the radiator to try to get any loose debris out of all the little gaps. And I didn't do 100%, but in any area that was sort of like really stuck together, I try to go through here and open it up with a real thin flathead. So I gotta go up like that and then down the next way. See, this is kind of like folded over, and see these parts that are folded over are so thin that they just break off. And so sometimes when they break off, I just peel it off. You can see it's just peeling right off. So this is a real soft brush. You can see how easy it is. Barely harder than a toothbrush. Not bending a single one of these really soft pieces of aluminum. And yeah, just kind of go through here and try to open up some of these things a little bit. But by no means did I go through the whole thing. It's not too bad, and so I just sort of brushed it off and opened up some really bad spots. All right, in the end, I did end up removing that black guard that's designed to get the airflow and kind of prevent other stuff from coming up into the radiator, because it was just falling apart. This like rubber stuff on it, although in some areas I can tell are like healthy and they bend, in other areas it's either disconnecting entirely or like just crumbling to pieces. So I went ahead last night and this morning, put everything back on. Did end up keeping the bottom bumper. I used a heat gun to kind of bend some of the plastic back into shape. I didn't realize until afterwards, but there's another little crease right here that if I take off the bumper again, I can maybe heat it up and bend that back into shape. As of now, everything is back together. So if you liked what you saw in this video, please give me a like, please subscribe and hit that bell icon in order to get the notification to see the next video when it comes out.